See God for himself, he told us, not for any gift that he might give you. Unlike many proponents of spiritual new thought, who equate progress with the ability to manifest increasing material abundance, Paramahansa Yogananda taught us that the true test of spirituality is indifference to everything except God's love. To the sincere devotee, he said, God's lesser gifts are meaningful in one sense only, as demonstrations of his love. A touching episode illustrative of this teaching occurred 2 or 3 years after I entered the work. Master in his travels between Los Angeles and Encinitas sometimes stopped in the little town of Laguna Beach at a Scottish tea shop where shortbread was a specialty. One day, going there for this delicacy, he sent Virginia Wright, now an automata, in. She returned to report that the last batch had been sold. Surprised, Master prayed, Divine Mother, how come? It wasn't that he was disappointed. Accustomed rather to receiving divine guidance in even the slightest details of his life, he wondered whether there might not be some lesson intended in this unexpected denial. All at once, he saw a shaft of light shine down upon the little shop. Moments later, the door opened and the proprietress came out. Wait, wait, she called, hastening over to the car with a little package in her hand. She said, I was saving this order for a local customer, but I want you to have it. I can make him more. Master had had no real desire for the shortbread. What touched him deeply about this episode was the divine love it exemplified. The more inconsequential the need to which God responds, the greater, in a sense, the proof of his love. Divine intervention in times of serious need might be attributed to other reasons, perhaps to the wish to see some important work finished. But what motive, save love alone, could there possibly be for the intervention in such trivial matters? It's no consequence, it's no coincidence that this month, May, is the month for Rajarsi Yogananda's birthday, Yogananda's most advanced disciple, for Sri Yukteswar's birthday, and for Swami's birthday, and of course for a Happy Mother's Day as well. I don't know why it's been my lot over the years, but many times I've given the talk on Mother's Day and Sri Yukteswar's birthday. And I'll tell you, the first time it occurred, I believe he was in Italy, I said to Roma, my gosh, how are we going to fit these two together? Sri Yukteswar's birthday and Happy Mother's Day. And I was in a quandary. And then in addition to that, then the talk was going to be translated, which was a first to me. And that takes something, because you're pausing. And at the same time, you're hoping that Divine Mother is going to keep the stream of inspiration intact as the translation is going on. And it was quite a challenge for me at the time. Well, I finally am at rest, because just as Brother Norman at one point said to Master, when I see you, I see Divine Mother. And so Yogananda, I think, surprised him. He took out his cane and he tapped him on the knee and said, well, then act accordingly. And it wasn't from any sense of ego, because, as Yogananda said, I killed Yogananda long ago. No one dwells in this temple now but God. It was that Norman had somehow seen clearly, rightfully, that this was Divine Mother in the form of his guru. So good, very good. Then you should act accordingly. And so with Sri Yukteswar, I don't know about you, but in the early years when I first got on the path, I had a bit of trouble with Sri Yukteswar. He was just too tough there on the altar. And I just thought, well, okay, I'll get you later. And it's not that I don't consider you a saint of the highest order. I do. But let me work on, the others first, and then hopefully they'll create a bridge. It was very, very, very helpful for me, and that's an understatement, when we went to India in 1980. And the reason for that, this was the pre-formal pilgrimages. It was just a small band of us, about a half a dozen. We had the blessing of going to Kolkata and meeting Yogananda's nephew, Hare Krishna Ghosh, and others during that wonderful month where we were all over India going to these various pilgrimage places that were so very, very inspiring. And it was so helpful because Hare Krishna Ghosh had the great good fortune, a very saintly soul he was, to have Sri Yukteswar there at his house. And so he told the stories that really allowed me to finally think, okay, it's not just that grim face on the altar and so forth, as I well knew, but the stories were him giving out candy to the children, and Yogananda's motorcycle with a sidecar, and there was Yogananda driving Sri Yukteswar in his sidecar. Imagine to have seen that, driving around, in Kolkata. All of these very, very sweet stories, and how warm Sri Yukteswar was. And I could only say, forgive me, it was obviously my error, not his, that I didn't go deep enough. Because the personality means nothing. As Yogananda said, when I come into this world, I see the personality that I'm having to take on. And it's like a heavy coat on a hot summer day, kind of itchy. He says, well, I get used to it. And so it is with us as we come in and we take on form and all, and serve in this world and work out our karma and so on, that it's not us. And we know that because we've gotten far along enough on the spiritual path where we can really wink at God, that this is just a play, it's just a Leela. We're playing our parts to the best of our ability. What a sweet, sweet story. And I purposely picked the poem, the very beautiful poem, as well as the story, because the poem is so heart-wrenching. Master wanted to throw himself in front of a train. He was only 12 years old when his mother died. And in my family, my mother lost her mother, my grandmother, when she was 12 too, and it was extremely hard. And so on a human level, there was Master. That was it for him. His life was over. And so in this beautiful drama, as a small child, there he was seeking a Divine Mother. And he said at that time his spiritual life took a very impersonal turn. And yet, how Divine Mother favored him. There's that wonderful story in the autobiography of the yogi, where Master Mahashaya, who Yogananda was very, very close to, so close that he said, basically, will you be my guru? Are you my guru? He says, no. He knew that Sri Yukteswar would be his guru. And there was a time, too, where Master rolled on the ground where Master Mahashaya had been. It was just phenomenal as a young boy. And Master Mahashaya played a very, very vital part in this chapter of Yogananda's life, when Yogananda begged him to show him Divine Mother, because he knew that Master Mahashaya was in direct communion with Divine Mother. And so he really, really got after Master Mahashaya. What a Leela. And so finally Master Mahashaya said, fine, okay. And so then Master, in the autobiography of Yogi, is given this beautiful vision of Divine Mother. But because Master was mischievous, he came the next day and was asking Master Mahashaya, if there had been some progress. and had some intervention. And Master Mahashaya, being all-seeing and the omnipresent master that he was, what did he say? Mischievous little sir. Because he knew, and he told him that he had had the vision of Divine Mother the night before. And so that chapter of Yogananda's life was again made so near and dear. Because yes, he had the karma of losing his earthly mother. But for all of us, of course he came in as a free soul, but for all of us, he gave us the very needed message to go beyond the form and seek Divine Mother in that place within our own hearts, and of course everywhere. And then in the path, it's Divine Mother plain. Why am I being neglected? I've come for my shortbread and that shaft of light coming down. I mean, it's just, how can you not fall in love with God when we read these precious experiences and we have these delightful experiences in our own little way, which demonstrate again and again and again how Divine Mother loves us. I was reading in Conversations, we're always wondering about finding God, follow the breadcrumbs. And when you have Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that's it, that's permanent, and so forth. And so again, as has happened many times, I was reading and stumbled upon a passage I thought, again, must be a new edition of the book, and of course it's just that for whatever reason, I hadn't read it on a deep enough level. And it was Yogananda describing the way back to God. And he said, first, it's just like Patanjali. Here's the foundation, the yamas and the niyamas, and then you go from asana to samadhi and so on. Just like that, first, you need to hear the Om. And that's Divine Mother, as Yogananda explained, throughout your body, the Om vibration. And it's of comfort to us, as Divine Mother is a comforter. The sound, as God manifests in a lot of different ways, is the easiest way to commune with God. So we think, okay, that's good. That will make it a little bit easier for me. And then he explained, after you're feeling and experiencing and hearing that sound throughout your body, then to expand it throughout the universe. You think, okay, I'm going to need some help with that. Not to mention perhaps the first step. And then, is that enough? Samadhi and so on and so forth, Sahaja Samadhi. No, very good start, but now we have to, as Yogananda said, the mother is closer than the father. Then it's time to seek the next step, which is that aspect of God, blissful silence, that's beneath all form. Then we have to feel that again in our own bodies, that silence that is beyond all vibration. And then, very good, you're feeling that in your body. Okay, time now to expand that out to the universe. You think, okay, more help with that one. With that, you would think that would be sufficient. My God, we're speaking of very high states of superconsciousness. No, then you have to be able to retain that state wherever. So that's why you can have Salvakalpa Samadhi in meditation and then come back in this world, but you don't have Nirvikalpa Samadhi because you haven't been able to make the translation. So we have a few challenges ahead of us, and luckily we have our Guru and Kriya and the Gurus and the saints and so forth, because and Divine Mother, because it's a bit of a daunting task, but nevertheless very, very doable, because that's where we've come from. So again, it's nothing new. It's just basically dusting off our memory, smriti, and then moving forward again. And so, Divine Mother, she is very, very near. Yogananda himself said when the disciples sent him that he was going to be leaving, and he told some close disciples he would be leaving, long ago now, March 7th of 1952. And they said, what will we do? He said, for those who think me near, I will be near. And that needs to be tested again and again and again. So that when trials come, rather than losing ourselves in that trial, we need to think, okay, I need to go beneath. For those who think me near, I will be near. When the trials come, and when Divine Mother tests us, that's an odd aspect of Divine Mother. She loves us, and she also tests us. What is this? But that is her right. We've been running away from her forever, and so now that we're running after her, she's playing hide-go-seek with us, as Yogananda explained. And so the need for testing, the testing of our love. Is it unconditional love, the love that she has for us? And so as we move forward on the spiritual path, more and more we need to seek that peace, as we are reading in this wonderful chapter on the path, where we're not looking for anything. Yogananda didn't have any desire for shortbread, but how sweet it was that Divine Mother arranged that he get it anyway. And the other customer, no doubt, got a blessing that he, unbeknownst to him, his sweet bread went to an avatar. My goodness. And so, as we continue on the spiritual path, it's so important that we take to heart that she knows what she's doing. Divine Mother knows what she's doing. And sometimes she's just giving and giving of all this abundance. Well, fine. We thank her for that, but we need to stay centered. Because around the corner, maybe she takes it all away. And we think, my goodness, first I was in a mansion, now I'm in a shack. What is this? What are you doing? And then the next moment, they perhaps were fighting physical health issues. And then the next moment, we're in this radiant state of health. And on it goes. During this ride that she's taking us on, which is truly that, is there any withdrawal of love? Of course, there's not. And so it's a matter of us finding this out as fast as we can. We're finding it out now, but we have to go deeper and deeper. That our job is to just love her. And then let her pay attention to all of the details, whatever it might be, in any form, be it thoughts, be it feelings, be it environment and associations and so on. And it doesn't mean that we lead a passive existence. That is the last thing that we want to do. We want to dynamically participate, but at the same time, good old Nishkam Karma, just leave it to her. She knows what she's doing. She does not make mistakes. And when finally we go into the light, and if we want to question or challenge her, it's about, a couple incarnations back, or this incarnation, there was some pretty rough water. I wanted to double check, were you really there? And of course, we know the question before the questions that asked, and we will be totally satisfied that she was even more there. Because that is the role of the mother. When the child is a special need, then the mother is extremely present at that time. So, happy Mother's Day. We really are all mothers, but as you women that are here, you're playing the part as mothers, whether you have the little ones at home, or you're the mother of your loved ones and your friends and your colleagues and this entire world. It's a special role that you're playing, and a role to be honored and respected. Because Divine Mother is being challenged, as we well know, in this world today, and that's just how it is. But those that know better, they think, well, she's strong. She also is calling. And we will do all that we can to support Divine Mother and know that in the end, she's going to be just fine. Because just as Jesus Christ said, forgive them, they know not what they do. When he was being crucified, and Master said, Jesus didn't mind the crucifixion that much, which I found an astonishing statement when you think of the physical pain that he endured. So it is with Divine Mother. She doesn't mind all this nonsense that goes on with us forgetting her and us being mad at her and all of this. She doesn't mind because she's the mother. And as Master said, as Divine Mother, playing that role, I'm in for the long haul. And that is very comforting for us, because if they were in for the short haul, then we would be left incarnation after incarnation at the side of the road, because it's just too challenging. But when you have the Divine Mother, as we do, in the form of Guru and so forth, then we find that they know who we are. They know exactly the path that we are to trod. They're going to give us every shortcut. They're going to get all the brambles that they can out of the way. But at the same time, we're going to have to walk on our own, with our own strength, but with locked arms with our Guru, with Divine Mother, so that we don't feel for a moment that we're doing this alone. Because that's something that's a thought we do not want to harbor, because it can be very discouraging. It's not the case. It's not the case. Divine Mother, remember, is the director. God is the director and playing all parts. And so we can be at rest in that. And so happy Mother's Day not only to all of us that are here, but happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers that are in this world, the many, many billions of mothers that are doing their part, and in so many ways are being so inspiring for their family, for their neighbors, and so on, in their way, in the way of unconditional love. So, God bless you.